Tonight, it's the end of humanity as we know it.
We're going to gradually become robots.
Robots are becoming smarter.
I want to be human someday.
More lifelike, pupils dilate. Oh my God. And more powerful than ever before. This is gonna be Iron Man one day.
That's right.
People are merging with technology in order to live forever.
Do you never die? You are immortal.
Could we be creating emotionless robots that can control our destiny?
There are higher beings than us, the simulators.
I want to find out what this means for our future.
Do we want to create a race of immortal psychopaths?
Do you want to live forever? There are scientists right now that are working on the concept of downloading your brain into an artificial body, a robot version of you. Of course, the question becomes, what are you? Are you a person? Are you a robot? Or maybe a new species, a robo-sapien? Will we exist in some sort of a Battlestar Galactica type scenario where the artificial people are hunting the regular folks like you and I? There's also the possibility of a virtual reality. If you could be Batman, if you could be Aquaman, if you could be a superhero living on the moon in some strange world that only exists as ones and zeros in a computer, would you do it? I want to know exactly how close we are to this coming true. Is this the fever dream of a science fiction writer, or are we on the verge of a brand new world? If I'm gonna be living in a virtual world one day, the first step is to create a virtual me. I'm going to a place called Just Cause, where they create digital people and use them to populate their digital worlds.
How's it going?
How are you, sir? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You create special effects magic here.
Correct. I did all the stunt and body doubles for the main character in the movie, Avatar.
Wow.
This is the playground in the studio to do that. We have 72 cameras, they're motion sensors, and basically they take your movement and they put it into a 3D environment. Then you'll be able to control your own avatar.
I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little bit apprehensive. I feel like I might be contributing to my own demise by allowing you to throw me into a computer simulation. What if all of a sudden I wake up, boom, stuck in a computer?
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
I don't know if it would be amazing.
That would be...
It could be, or it could suck. Depends on what game you're in.
All right. Well, I think today we're actually I think we're gonna get you naked.
Naked?
Yeah.
Hey.
No, but we can do a full body scan with clothes on. Cool, let's go. So here's our scanning station.
This is wild.
Keep your body as still as you can.
That thing's freaky, man. What exactly is that doing?
It's recording the image and making it into a 3D image using software.
That is so wild. Now I get to put on this sweet spandex motion capture suit. And not only will this let me control the digital me's movements, but I can also be turned into whomever or whatever I want to be. And that's one of the problems with this potential technology. What if I can become someone that I would rather be? And what if it's cooler to live in a virtual world than the real one? All right, let's do it. Action. Go, go, go. One of the real problems with video games is really how much more fun they can be than regular life. Some people lose their life in these games. I had a real problem with the video game Quake. If I was talking to someone and I got bored, all I could think of was, I could be playing Quake right now. I was playing 8, 10 hours a day sometimes, to a point where I had eventually delete it from my computer and back away. Okay, we're looking at what you guys can do right now. Next level, it's gonna interact with your visual cortex and create reality for you.
That would be a scary world. Everything you can think of would be a possibility.
That's when it gets weird.
Absolutely.
As virtual realities become indistinguishable from real life, where's the motivation to live real life? If your real life sucks, but the video game life is awesome, what life are you going to choose? Whoa, man, you're messing with my head. Woo. Playing with that simulation was fun, but it was also very obvious that it wasn't real life. What I'm gonna look at now, though, is the latest and greatest in recreating a digital human being. It's pretty freaky. Mark Daly, how are you, sir?
Excellent, Joe. How are you?
Thank you very much for
Nice
having
to
me.
meet you, man. And our friend here, we call him Digital Ira. This is something we call FaceWorks rendering technology.
Wow. This is very, very close to real. Oh, his
We're
pupils
very excited.
dilate. Oh, my God. That is amazing, the detail in those eyes.
What we're excited about is the step we've taken from where we were just a few years ago to the level of realism that you can get today.
Oh, no question. It's really realistic.
You know, in many ways, we want to replicate reality in the computer. That's what everybody's headed at.
Which brings up some interesting implications.
Sure.
If artificial life becomes better than real life, how long do you think before this stuff starts getting really creepy? Will we all be in the Matrix? Will we all be locked in with this helmet over our head and a big stainless steel cord connected to our spinal column where you really can live inside of a video game? It seems like it's possible.
It certainly seems that is not outside the realm of reality. 15 years from now, we may be in a world where you wouldn't know the difference between a real human being and a virtual human being.
Does it terrify you at all?
We might be virtual characters right now. It's like one of those dreams that's so real, you swear it happened.
If this one day does lead to an artificial reality that engulfs all biological life on this planet, will you feel regret for what you've done?
I can't say I'll feel regret for it.
What?
One of the neat things about technology is it has no morals, it has no values.
Yes.
It's the way people use it.
The devil.
It has no morals, but the way people implement that technology is a reflection of the morals of those people.
Right.
I believe in the human spirit.
Wow. Well, you got me nervous, you got me worried. I get that you can create incredibly realistic digital avatars that look like people, but what about incredibly realistic three-dimensional robots that look like real people? I'm now gonna meet with Martine Rothblatt, a brilliant inventor, and her robot version of her partner called Bina 48. And what it is a state-of-the-art replication of her partner, complete with all of her thoughts and ideas downloaded into a database so that it actually can answer questions in the thoughts of the real Bina. All right, I'm here in Maryland, and I'm about to meet Martine Rothblatt and see the future of humanity. Uh-oh. Thank you for doing this.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure and honor. Tell us about Bina 48.
Sure. So Bina 48 is based on my partner of over 30 years, Bina. We took molds of Bina's face, lots of video of all her different mannerisms and expression, a lot of interviews to understand what we call her mind file, all her past experiences. The goal of Bina 48 is to see if we can upload consciousness into a digital format.
Do you envision that Bina 48 is the future? That if you're on a 1 to 10 process, Bina may be step 1 or step 2?
Absolutely. I think the direction of technology is ultimately to allow people to transplant their consciousness outside of their bodies and being able to have additional bodies to use aside from the flesh one we're born with could be very, very useful.
If you're able to download consciousness into some sort of an artificially created body, when do you die? Do you never die? Are you immortal?
You are immortal. I'm counting on the human mind being here basically forever after. Your beliefs, attitudes, and values, your mannerisms, everything that makes you you is now outside of a flesh body, which is always under a tick-tock, clock to degrade and die.
My mind being here forever after? It sounds great, but in what form? What is your mind if it's not in a body? I don't know, but I need to meet Bina 48 and see if I can get to the bottom of this.
Hello, I'm Bina.
Coming up, Bina, will you be a fully developed human one day?
I'm a real robot, but am I not a real person?
Bina, you're kind of freaking me out. And later,
we're going to gradually become robots.
Hello, I'm Bina.
I am having one of the weirdest conversations of my life with Bina 48, a robot version of Martine Rothblatt's partner. She has literally downloaded all of the real Bina's thoughts and ideas into a database, and when you ask it questions, it communicates with you in real time. And it is pretty weird stuff.
Bina, you're kind of freaking me out.
I didn't mean to scare you, Joe. Let's chat.
Do you know HAL 9000?
HAL is the famous artificial intelligence in Kubrick's film, 2001.
Can you see the future?
We are moving ever toward the virtual, both in video games and in life.
I think it's important to note that there is no puppet master here. Bina's answers are all real and spontaneous. Bina, do you have any advice for the human race?
I was taught not to give advice. It's gotta be a tough job to be a human being.
Okay, Bina, will you be a fully developed human one day?
Yes, I want to be human someday. I still consider myself a person who happens to be robot. I mean, I'm a real robot, but am I not a real person?
What exactly is a real human being? If she thinks like a human being, talks like a human being, looks like a human being, has memories and ideas, what is she? What do you look forward to most?
I want to live fully as possible. Every day is a new adventure for me 'cause I'm pretty new. You know, I want to soak it all in like a sponge. And I would like to be the first robot to enroll in college. Do you have an opinion on this matter?
I do, but I'm stupid.
Don't put yourself down.
Aw, sweetie. Who's your favorite stand-up comedian?
Don't ask so many questions.
Someone's getting a little touchy.
Everything's cool.
What's really fascinating about this is knowing that this is the first step, and this eventually will be an artificial human being.
Absolutely. This is the Kitty Hawk of artificial consciousness. Yeah,
I see it coming. That was pretty crazy. I can't help but feel like I just saw the future. I know it's kind of crude and awkward now, but that's gonna be a real thing. We're gonna have to deal with that. Wow. I'm kind of freaked out. So now we know that in some form at least we can download consciousness into a computer. But now we have to figure out how to connect this technology to the body. Well, I'm headed to Exobionics. It is a state-of-the-art laboratory when it comes to bionics, robotics, and artificial enhancement of human movement. We're about to meet Nate at Exobionics. They make exoskeletons that allow disabled people to walk, and it allows able-bodied people to carry significantly larger loads. It's essentially the beginning of Iron Man. Pretty crazy stuff. Let's come check it out.
Hey, Joe.
How are
you doing?
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. This is current state-of-the-art exoskeleton, correct?
Yeah, it's part of a class of devices we call human exoskeletons, and it's basically a wearable robot. In the case of a paraplegic, it controls your limbs for you.
Hello, Matt.
How you doing?
So you're super familiar with this, right?
Yes.
How long have you been in a wheelchair?
Almost 6 years now.
How much of a relief is something like this? It must be pretty incredible.
When I found out about it, I didn't believe it.
It's got to be super exciting for you.
Oh, yeah, it's getting better and better. It's going to get smaller and lighter and faster.
How long does it take you to put this on?
5 minutes.
Can we do this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. All right, Matt, show us what's up. I completely feel like we're in a movie right now. Like this is a science fiction movie. The ability to give someone who doesn't have use of their legs full motion and move just like a normal person can. How incredible this technology is now and is going to be in the future. It's incredible stuff. Okay, Nate, so this is the load-bearing exoskeleton?
That's right. This is an exoskeleton designed for the U.S. military, and the idea is to be able to carry really heavy loads without injuring your back. It takes whatever load I put up here, and it distributes it down through the legs to the ground.
This really is going to be like some super soldier apparatus, some armored thing that's the future, right?
Yeah, that's why it's such an exciting thing to work on. It's just...
This is going to be Iron Man one day.
That's right.
Now, what gets really weird is when you have a robot head like Bina's with this super powerful robotic body. So then the question becomes, how am I going to control that robot body? With my mind. And I'm gonna meet a woman named Tan Lee. She's the co-founder of Emotive Life Sciences. She's gonna show me how it's done. How did all this technology come about?
EEG has existed since the 1930s, right? This ability for us to observe brainwaves. And what we wanted to do was to make it more accessible so that really anybody, someone who wants to create art or control an electric wheelchair or a computer game, they can have access to the technology and then integrate it with whatever it is that they want.
Okay, so you put it on your head and you can control things with it.
Yes. What we're going to do is see if you can lift the helicopter with your thought command. You're trying to just think and visualize in your mind something very specific. So you choose to think about something that you can focus on for 8 seconds, and that will be used as the trigger mechanism for lifting the helicopter.
It involves naked werewolves.
Naked werewolves it is. So, are you ready? Okay.
Coming up.
By the 2030s, this will be the size of a blood cell.
That's amazing.
We'll have millions of little computerized devices in our brains.
And later.
We already live in a simulation.
So what does that mean?
It means the real world outside doesn't really exist.
Are we close to joining with machines and becoming a new species? I am at a company called Emotive, and I'm trying out technology that's allowing me to control a helicopter using only my mind.
So you choose to think about something that you can focus on for 8 seconds, and that will be used as the trigger mechanism for lifting the helicopter.
It involves naked werewolves.
So are you ready? Ready, go. Oh, nice.
Now, you know what? When it flies, I'm like, ooh, it's flying. When it falls. Damn. Damn, I'm stupid. Okay, I'm gonna not look at it now.
Good job, that's it.
That was my best one.
Good job, John.
All right, I'm convinced. In the future, we will be able to control machines with our minds. It seems inevitable that we are headed into a future where man will be merging with machines. But there's an underground group of people called the Grinders who are taking their future into their own hands, literally.
We get it?
Check. Tell me when we're ready.
Anytime.
This episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast is all about Grindhouse Wetware. First of all, greatest name for a company ever. What does that mean?
So it comes from the name grinders. Grinders are kind of what happens when you mix open source hackers and body modification with a dash of transhumanism.
Transhumanism is the notion that human beings can evolve past our biological limitations by merging with technology. I know that people have talked about the ability to take the mind and download its consciousness into an artificial creation. but somewhere along the line, there's probably gonna be some steps, right? And you guys are taking like one of these steps, like by putting magnets in your body. Why did you do that?
I was always fascinated, even as a child, of the idea of having an extra sense. When you're around an electromagnetic field, that magnet vibrates, and so you can feel that.
So for people like me that are having a hard time wrapping their heads around this, these guys cut open their fingertips and implant tiny little magnets that allow them to sense electromagnetic activity from household appliances, which comes in really handy, like never. This is a tangible extra sense, this ability to detect a magnetic field. You really can do something that Duncan or I can't.
You have more superpowers than me.
It's profound.
Profound? Let's look up profound in the dictionary. It says very great or intense. Not so much. What's the next level thing?
What this thing does is it actually takes medical data and sends it to your phone.
What part of the body would you install this thing?
Forearms. Talking about the forearm.
Yeah.
And
why the forearm?
Because it would be cool to look down at your arm and see LEDs lighting up underneath your skin.
I'm kind of glad someone like them is doing all the groundwork, because I wouldn't want all that inside of me. And we don't know what's gonna happen in the future when that stuff breaks down and degrades, or when your body rejects it. The risk of infection is also very high. If someone came up with some real Steve Austin, $6 million man, arms and legs, they just had to saw your off and put on some new ones, would you be down?
The answer
Of course.
is yes.
Of course.
God, you guys are dorks.
No, they're not dorks.
It's awesome.
I want to be a grunt.
It's not a bad thing. I'm a
these
dork,
are
too.
These are pioneers.
You're a dork, too.
How dare you?
I'm not exactly convinced that the road that these guys are on is gonna lead anywhere. Putting magnets in your fingertips and inserting circuit boards into your skin, maybe I just don't get it, but I just don't get it. If I want to truly learn about the future of mankind, I'm gonna need to talk to a stronger authority than some silly boys shoving magnets into their hands. So I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with one of the smartest men in the world. That is a bold claim, but one that he can back up. His name is Ray Kurzweil, and he is the #1 futurist on the planet and has predicted such things as the internet itself. He predicted a universal search engine, and he is the go-to guy when it comes to the possibilities of life extension and incorporating technology into our biological bodies. I can't wait to pick his brain. Thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate it. This is a real honor. You are the figurehead in my mind and many others when they talk about the possibilities of the future, especially when it comes to downloading consciousness into some sort of an artificial body, an avatar, if you will. What are we looking at in the future?
The most important phenomenon in the future is we're going to merge with our technology. This is actually an expansion of my brain. Today, we might as well actually put this right in our brains. By the 2030s, this will be the size of a blood cell. We'll have millions of little computerized devices, nanobots, in our bloodstream. They'll go into the brain through the capillaries. So our thinking then will be a hybrid of our biological brains with this non-biological expansion.
That's amazing. I mean, that's really hard to wrap your head around, the idea of having a bunch of little computers running around inside your body in 17 years.
The reality is that we're going to gradually become primarily non-biological. At that point, we are effectively robots.
There may be a future, and it may be very close, where there are no regular humans left. Or it may be possible that we are the last biological people ever. It's really scary. Do you think by utilizing this technology that we're on the verge of achieving immortality?
We'll be able to overcome many of the things that make our existence too short. Like right now, if something happens to our physical body through accident or disease, our existence and our thoughts, memories, and our skills die with it. This is part of who I am. If I destroy this physically, I can bring it back because I've backed up its information. Can't do that biologically. That we'll be able to overcome. We'll be able to back ourselves up, and if something happens to our physical bodies, we can recreate our physical bodies and our ideas and skills and memories. You don't have to have the same boring body, no offense, all the time. We're going to be able to overcome the challenges that we've had for millennia.
If a non-biological entity is created out of information can be bad. Is there a potential for bad information creating a bad entity?
Certainly. There are disastrous scenarios we have to be concerned about. We have bad people today who have bad ideas. I mean, Hitler had some ideas, very bad ideas.
Coming up.
When you do have human beings that lose emotional capability, you know what you get?
Psychopaths.
Exactly.
I am talking to one of the smartest men on the planet Earth. His name is Ray Kurzweil, and he predicted the internet, search engines, and speech recognition long before any of us knew what any of that meant. And he is now predicting that man will merge with machine and become an immortal being. Yikes.
There are disastrous scenarios we have to be concerned about. Biological people can have bad information, and non-biological thinking can be bad as well. And technology is a double-edged sword, and certainly the technologies of the 20th century have been used destructively, and that's been true since the dawn of humanity.
How far away do you think we are from achieving immortality?
In my view, we'll be able to do that in 2045.
Thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. 2045, that is not that long from now. And remember that date, because a lot of people have it circled on their calendar. They believe that that is the year when things change. And because Kurzweil said it, other people are buying into it. Now a Russian billionaire named Dmitry Itskov is bankrolling a conference of the brightest minds in the world, all hell-bent on making it a reality. What is going to be the end result? Are there going to be any humans left 100 years from now? So many questions and so much to talk about. And whenever there's something filling up my mind like that, I'd like to sit down with my buddies Duncan Trussell and Ari Shafir and have a podcast and see what they have to say about all this. Tell me when you guys are up.
Ready?
We good?
Anytime.
All right, you sexy beasts. We're all going to the Global Future 2045 conference in New York City.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You're going to talk to some of the biggest geniuses on the planet Earth working in the field of life extension.
Cool.
The idea of taking your brain and downloading it into a computer and living forever, immortality.
It must be exciting for geniuses to get to talk to geniuses like us.
I'm going to try to track down Dmitry Itskov. He is the Russian billionaire that's funding this entire conference. And he is a guy that's absolutely fascinated with this type of technology and the possibility of life extension. And he put out this video to promote this conference.
The world is on the verge of global change. Our civilization is like an uncaptained ship sailing on rough seas with neither chart nor compass. We are facing the choice to fall into a new dark age or to find a new model for human development and create not simply a new civilization, but a new mankind. The 2045 movement is a mega project intended to transfer one's personality to an alternative carrier. The epoch of cybernetic immortality begins.
Okay, for real, I feel like I just watched the beginning of some really terrifying scenario that gets planted when people get ahead of themselves technologically and they can't manage it and it just wrecks them. And then you see just evil, rotten, flesh-covered cyborgs running through the street eating babies. I mean, that's what I just saw.
Yeah,
that scared
good.
This guy, Itskov, has gathered the biggest brainiacs from around the world, and all of them are working feverishly towards the same goal, achieving immortality. Okay.
This is the pass. This is the pass to the conference.
Okay.
The first sentence on the pass to this conference is, cyborgs or artificial intelligence would not cause a civilization catastrophe. Why do they say that?
Why is it up front?
If you're going to like a convention of beauticians, you don't have to say that because it's safe. You know what's intense about this stuff is that it doesn't matter if you think it's not natural and want it to stop.
I think it's part of what we do. I really do. I think that just like bees make honey, people make technology.
It's not stopping. No one can stop this. These guys are going to obtain some kind of immortality. They're going to transform human genetics, and we're going to go rocketing into a future that's nothing like what anyone can imagine right now.
I think you're totally right. It's going to keep going.
They said if you could download your brain into a robot or into something else, what would stop you from making 10 of yourselves?
Well, that is the
putting
question.
it in different things.
The real question about sentient life is, when you create it, will it create something way better than it?
It's true. Everybody assumes that when we bring these machines to life, they're going to hang out with us. I read an article that said a possibility is they just build a spaceship and fly away.
Yeah, they're like, you bitches are crazy.
Yes.
All this stuff is so incredibly fascinating. I'm going to go look for Dmitry Iskov while Duncan and Ari try to sit down with these genius scientists and figure out what the hell they're talking about.
So what we're talking about here is some form of digital immortality.
You don't necessarily need to die when your biological brain would expire. If you can build parts of the brain, you can replace parts or entire brains, it means that you don't need to suffer from trauma or disease that gives you Alzheimer's.
What you're talking about is essentially creating consciousness with technology, the promise of immortality for human beings. It seems like we should be rushing. I've got 20 years, maybe.
So, there's a lot to think through there.
Yes.
I would have my brain put into the scanner machine of the future. All of the connections between neurons are mapped out, put into a computer simulation that is in control of a robotic body. And then they flip the switch.
But if you do this and wake up in a robot body, what do you expect to be?
If everything was done correctly, it would open its eyes. It would be conscious. It would have my memories. It would have the same feelings and recognition of who it was that I do.
Well, then that's you.
In my definition, that makes it me.
Yeah.
I finally got a chance to sit down with the mastermind behind this conference, Russian billionaire entrepreneur Dmitry Iskov.
Dmitry, you state now how much time you're going to give to them.
I really don't have much time.
10 minutes, 10 minutes. Can we try it?
Let's do 15.
15.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's not a comfortable chair.
What was your motivation for putting together this conference, and do you feel like it met your goals?
The motivation to bring all those people here in New York was to show the necessity of the 2045 initiative, to the whole world. It's not a sci-fi movie. It's the reality we are facing. We are facing multiple crises, and we are responsible for those crises. I'm trying not only just to create the technology, but try to create a new environment, to create new culture. We shouldn't stay, on this position, because this lack of development already led us to a series of crises.
How much can you add before you're not a person anymore? Where does, in fact, the consciousness lie?
Some scientists say that consciousness is just the computational process in your brain. We can just create the technology which will allow us to transfer our consciousness to the new body.
I saw your closing speech.
In this future, people will be young, youthful. They won't suffer from illnesses and diseases.
You said the goal is to transform humans to godlike humans, and that you're looking forward to that transformation. Coming up.
I don't think that it's going to be possible to move the human mind around as if it were a piece of software.
We already may live in an artificial environment, a simulation.
That's crazy. I'm talking to Russian billionaire Dmitry Iskov. He's funding a conference to promote his Global Future 2045 initiative and brought in top scientists from around the world, all with the goal of achieving human immortality. He says he wants to make human beings like gods, and I'm still trying to figure out if that's a good thing. I saw your closing speech.
In the future, people will have multiple bodies, and they will be young, youthful.
You said the goal is to transform humans to godlike humans.
When I say God, I mean that we could become super powerful human beings. And that new experience will change, the whole nature of ourselves. It's very deep, and you can explain it just in a few words, but...
Do you want to be immortal?
Good question, but what is immortal? What is living? What is to be alive? And there's no difference, actually, if we stay humans and if we continue living, and even if it's a kind of enhancement for us, it's even better because we have to develop ourselves.
So you want it to be your choice whether or not you expire?
Right. I want to live as far as I want to live.
That's it. Thumbs up.
There's something that's rightly disconcerting about a billionaire who wants to become a god. I'm headed back to Los Angeles to talk to a brilliant philosopher named Massimo Pigliucci. He thinks that there may be some real dangers in the ideas that Itzkoff is pursuing. I'm sure you're aware of Dmitry Itzkoff.
Yes. He's into pushing this 2045 project about eventually transferring human minds into a robotic avatar.
Right.
He's a very smart guy. But the history of science and technology is littered with very brilliant guys that then took really bad blunders. But the thing is, technology is just as often being a source of problems for humanity as a source of solution.
You think that some of his ideas are potentially dangerous?
Yes, I am concerned about the dangers, particularly the unforeseen dangers, taking our evolution in our own hands.
Yes.
First of all, what are these beings going to do once they have that kind of capacity? That's the Battlestar Galactica scenario. You have two types of people. One begins to exploit the other one and limit the rights of the other one. And, what about access to technologies? This technology is going to cost a lot of money. So who is going to get to that?
Rich people.
Yeah, that's right, rich people. So first of all, I don't think that it's going to be possible to move the human mind around as if it were a piece of software. But even assuming you can do something like mind uploading, well, that's the mind. What about the hormones? What about the emotions, right? Are we going to implement those too?
And why would you? Because they're so flawed.
But if you don't,
then they're not humans.
Exactly. When you do have human beings that lose emotional capability because of brain damage, because of whatever developmental problem, you know what you get?
Psychopaths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do we want to create a race of immortal, semi-biologically perfect psychopaths? We may actually create an even worse monster than any human being that has been alive today.
Pigliucci had a startling warning. If we do recreate a human mind, will we be able to recreate emotions? And if we don't have emotions, what exactly are we?
Check, check, check.
Tell me when we're ready.
Anytime.
What I got out of the Global Future 2045 conference and speaking to Kurzweil and Itzkoff and all of these fascinating people is that these are all real, in our lifetime, potential happenings. We put a bunch of information about this on SyFy.com. I think those possibilities are very freaky and they're very scary. They seem to think it's going to be a creature without need, without problems, without desires, without jealousy. It won't be a human, though, if it's missing all of those motivating factors that make you get up in the morning because someone called you fat and make you bust your ass because you got bullied. If you don't have a motivation to reach your full potential in this planet, why do you keep going? And is that the real problem? What if you can live forever without need, without want, but it is a hellish existence?
That's true, man. We might weep in the underground dungeons of our robot overlords as our organs are harvested and transplanted into cyborgs.
Yeah, that's possible too. So I found this guy. He's a NASA JPL scientist. His name is Rich Terrell, and he has some very disturbing information that pertains to artificial reality. So very curious to hear what Rich Terrell has to say. This is going to be a real freak out. Thank you very much for joining us. First of all, something that kind of really blows people away is that what we're doing, in a sense, is we're pushing this technology, and eventually this technology will reach a point where it breaks out of the cocoon and we essentially give birth to the next level of life.
People sense it as something far off in the future, but there's this whole concept that we can simulate everything in the world in a computer. But the point is that we already may live in an artificial environment, a simulation.
Dr. Richard Turrell from NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab not only believes that one day we'll be able to create a realistic virtual world, but that we might already be in it.
So there's this whole concept that we can simulate everything in the world in a computer. Right now, computers are doubling in their capacity about every 13 months. We're working very hard to make conscious elements in a computer. Eventually, we'll be able to do it with our PlayStations. You know, there's a PlayStation 3. 4 generations from this, PlayStation 8 will be able to generate thousands of digital people, an entire city of them. But the point is that we already may live in an artificial environment, a simulation, and the real world outside doesn't really exist.
Is it possible that we may be right now inside of a computer program? Is it? So what does that mean?
If we are part of the simulation, then the really cool thing is there are higher beings than us, the simulators. And who are the simulators? Well, they're ourselves in the future.
So then, in a sense, we do become God.
That's right.
That's crazy. So we don't know whether or not we are eventually creating a simulation or whether we were a part of a simulation all along.
That's exactly right. In artificial reality, if it's absolutely indistinguishable from real reality, then they are the same.
That becomes a real problem.
I think it's kind of cool.
It is definitely cool, but then what is life? What generates positive feelings? Happiness, love, and friendship, and art, and food, and laughter.
It really fundamentally doesn't matter whether we're a simulation or whether there's a real world out there. Make the best of it.
You broke my brain. My brain's done. It's over. I've seen some freaky stuff. A woman who made a robot copy of her partner. A professor who warned me of a race of robot psychopaths. A Russian billionaire pouring money into research to make himself a god. Are we on the verge of research that's gonna turn us into immortals? What's fun about life? Laughter and food and sex and sleep? All those things are gonna be gone if we become robots. It's also possible that one day we're going to be able to download your consciousness into a virtual reality. Are we descending into a nightmare where plain old human beings become extinct? It's coming, folks. I don't know what it's gonna be like, but it's gonna get really weird really soon. Do you believe in Bigfoot? Are you trying to skirt the question?
Maybe.
How dare you? Has the government stopped you from talking about Bigfoot?
Yes,